Week in review, November 6th, 2023. At Coffee, Pods, and Wads. How many athletes have been tested this calendar year by CrossFit, and do you think this number can be increased to similar levels to other sports? I don't know what the similar levels are to other sports, so I don't know what that represents. Why don't you come back and tell me how many people are tested in other sports, and specifically the other sports that you are referring to, because I don't know what other sports you might have in mind. I do think we could probably increase the number of people we test. It's not cheap, it's not easy. I would like to test way more people, but there are a lot of constraints and a lot of restrictions or a lot of financial implications in making a decision like that. But I would like to see the testing increase. We do a lot of testing. We do a lot of out-of-season testing. Regardless of how much we do at this point, I still like to see an environment where we had more, and maybe we'll get to a place where that is possible. And maybe we'll do it next year. At Cedric Seghetti, hey Dave, thanks for your comments. For the Open, is it time to ditch the specific layouts? These can be quite difficult for gyms, pending space, etc. I appreciate that quarters and semifinals might require more standardization, but for the 3 weeks, is it really necessary? Great comment, great point. We are definitely taking a look at evaluating the necessity of those layouts. At Samuel Perlin, are there specific movements that you steer away from in competitions or qualifiers due to difficulty maintaining movement standards? Example, I think push-ups are great for training but terrible for competitions. I'm afraid deadlifting is trending that direction as well. Well, for sure, your example, push-ups, is a great one. We actually used it in the Open once. We've done it in the games a number of times, specifically with Murph. Push-ups is really hard to judge. So here's the deal. We did it in the Open, and then after the Open, stopped doing it because it is incredibly hard to judge and standardize the range of motion visually so a judge can make a good call. Also, but at the games a few years later, even after we had it in the Open, we felt comfortable bringing it there because it was a way more controlled environment, meaning we have a few hundred athletes or 100 athletes, less than 100 athletes on the individual side, but in the Open we have several 100,000. So doing the push-ups in the games with a tighter field and with our judges, we felt comfortable doing. Even then, it's still a really challenging movement to do at that level. So something like push-ups is definitely challenging. In regards to other movements I steer away from in competitions, like, look, I'm a purist, I'm an old school CrossFitter, so I bias towards, and I've said this in other weekend reviews or other platforms, the core concepts and the core principles of CrossFit basically steer how I program and how I create the tests, and how anyone who's creating a test like this or programming like this to find the fittest in the world should program. And fundamentally, we use movements that move large loads, long distances, and quickly. And so when you break those aspects down, movements that generate power, high expression, allow the athletes to have high expressions of power. Something like the Turkish get-up doesn't move, it moves a relatively small load relative to what athletes can do. A long distance, we'll give it that, but not quickly. So 2 of the 3 right there, it doesn't fulfill. Large loads, no. Long distance, yes. Quickly, no. So that's a movement I typically wouldn't use. Now, of course, you could apply that to a few other odd movements, or like for an example, I'm not a huge fan of man makers, and it basically because it falls into that. It's not a large load, it's not a super long distance, and it's not quickly. Now here's the thing to that. There's still great training movements. There's still good things to do. I'm not against Turkish get-ups. I'm not against man makers. I'm just kind of against having them in competitions, especially in a competition, especially like the games, where as many events that we do have, there's still super limited amounts of opportunity to have a wide variety of movements that are super impactful. And what I mean by that is anytime we put something in like a Turkish get-up or a man maker, to use those 2 examples, something else is being left out. meaning maybe a snatch is being left out, maybe a back squat is being left out, maybe bar muscle ups, so movements that are effective at moving large loads, long distances, and quickly. So there's a compromise. And when you make that decision, something is out, and so that's why I bias more towards those core movements. That being said, there are always exceptions to the rules, and there's always a reason to kind of break the mold and have something unique, but definitely not too many of those, or not on a regular, not like 5 movements like that. Like, so if you end up seeing a Turkish get up in the games once, then I'd really like to see everything else in that same year have more of the core concepts and the core movements supported. So that's my thoughts on that topic. You end with saying, I'm afraid deadlifting is trending that direction as well. I don't know if it is. I still think it's an appropriate movement for competition. It is challenging, especially with people still being leaned forward over the bar. So it's definitely one that we are looking at and considering. At the individual competitions where you have may call it a more experienced judge, I think it's fine. There's still some issue there, but I think it's still okay to have. Lightweight deadlift is really where it becomes challenging because people are just repping out so fast. Heavier deadlifts typically aren't repped out as quickly, so a little better usage of that movement. Good question. I enjoy that one. At Tyler Chingaris. Dave, how do you manage your professional duties in CrossFit leadership intersecting with your personal relationships with folks such as Sevan? So Sevan has been a friend for almost a couple of decades now, for like not as long as I've worked with CrossFit, but for very long. I mean, I met him during the second games, so around that time frame. And we've been friends since then. We've been close friends since then. Obviously with the changes of leadership a few years ago, he lost his job with CrossFit. He went and did his own thing. Actually, he didn't do anything for a while. Still close friend with him then. Then he started doing his podcast. Still a close friend with him. And it's just separate. I'm friends with him, and then I have my CrossFit job, but I don't, I'm not going to compromise my friendship just over, or I'm not going to say, hey, I can't be your friend, although he takes jabs at us sometimes, although he's doing a podcast about CrossFit. At this point, I don't think he's done anything that I would feel like, hey, dude, I can't be your friend anymore. What would that look like? Him directly coming after me? Hey, that wouldn't be what I'd expect out of a friend, and he doesn't do that. And there's a line he could cross with CrossFit where I'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you saying that for? Or what are you doing? I've actually done that a few times. I will say this though, my friendship with him is beneficial to CrossFit for those 2 reasons I just said. A, he doesn't take as many shots at me as he could because of that, and he'll be the first to admit that, and I'll fucking say it. And B, he definitely tones down how he comes after CrossFit because of our friendship. And if there's been multiple times where he said, hey, dude, did you know this about that person? Or hey, did you know you guys did this? And I'm like, hey, dude, just chill the fuck out. Don't come at us with that, or don't come after that person, because that'll make it really difficult for me, and it'll make it really difficult for our relationship. So yeah, that's how I deal with it. And if there is a point, like, we're really close friends, but he could jeopardize our friendship and our relationship by crossing specific lines. And I don't think he wants to do that. And I don't want him to do that. I want to continue to be able to be his friend. And I don't want anybody in CrossFit to have to say, hey, and nobody has, to have to say, hey, you can't be his friend anymore. Because that would put me in a really weird position. That'd put us both in a weird position. At Jersey Justin 26. TDC. You used to be able to go on main site and search for physicians who had their level 1. For some reason, the search only shows affiliates now. Will this not be offered any longer? Looking into it, I think it's a really cool value add. I think it's good for our community to be able to know where there's like-minded doctors who think the way we do in your local area that you can find and get care from without going to someone who doesn't know anything about CrossFit or might think it's dangerous or might not understand it. I don't know, there's a lot of tech changes going on our platforms and like constantly testing new things and evolving. There might be downstream a plan to have it back. Definitely something I think we should have. So I'll look into that. At Salah Maru, keto is a fad. That's your opinion. I don't think it's a fad. I think it's, for me at least, it's highly effective. I'm utilizing concepts from it to live a healthier life, to have better performance in some of the things I do. So, cool. That's your opinion, not mine. I don't care what you think about it. I'm seeing results from it. At Frank Foe, I agree with you that Jay should be given a second chance, especially if he's been doing CrossFit for a few years. But one, why has he not offered an apology and telling us the story of how he's convinced to try CrossFit? He did do that. He did that via a response we had to Morning Chalk Up and what he learned. And isn't this a clear example of the misinformed public perception that CrossFit is dangerous and causes injuries? Absolutely it is. Absolutely. What is CrossFit HQ's plan to counter this narrative that keeps people from trying out CrossFit? We have absolutely we have to do a better job on educating the world and society that CrossFit isn't dangerous and causes injuries. That's on us. We have the biggest microphone, we have the biggest platform, we have the biggest reach of all the CrossFit ecosystem, of all the affiliates, of all the athletes, of anyone involved in CrossFit. We are at the top in terms of ability to speak outwardly. And we need to take that on, and we need to do a way better job of using our microphone, using our platforms, and using our position to tell the world that CrossFit is not dangerous and it doesn't cause injuries, and that it's an effective program for pretty much whatever your goals are. So, totally agree with you. We need to keep working on that, and we need to get better at that, and I think we will. We definitely will. At CFNY Header 1735, when will we get the season of 2024 structure? Well, coming on Wednesday, we have some big announcements. I can't go into them yet because on Wednesday, check games.crossfit.com, check our social media platforms, crossfit.com. Just pay attention. We'll have information. It's not the rule book, but we'll have information on the games qualifier numbers, quarterfinal changes, which I'm really excited about, and general information on the season path. So, timely with the question, because on Wednesday we will address some of that. At Zach Bowler 2146, always mostly informative content, mostly informative. All right, I'll take that. Thanks, Dave. Curious as to what your keto fasting routine looks like. Do you track your macros daily, and what are your macro goals? Is it a strict protocol or something more loose? Is your fasting... Okay, I'll answer one at a time. Do you track your macros daily, and what are your macro goals? No, I don't track macros at all. I don't track calories at all. I don't have macro goals. I just eat, and I just eat in a very specific way at this point. I used to be a really hardcore zoner for a long time, and I'd go off and on zoning, but currently not. And enjoying it, seeing good results. Is it a strict protocol or something more loose? So towards the macros, something more loose. Towards the routine, a little more strict, but I also I'm also way okay with breaking from anything I'm doing and then coming back to it. And the fasting element has really helped with that. Is your fasting intermittent fasting, 16-8, similar to 16-8, close, yeah, or something different, such as a 24, 36-hour fast once a week? So I skip breakfast, I have my last meal at 6, and typically 6 p.m. I'll have lunch at anywhere from 12 to 2. So sometimes the window is only a 4-hour window, from 2 to 6, and I'll eat 1 or 2 meals, maybe a snack there, or actually 2 meals, maybe a snack in between. Sometimes I'll eat 12. So 12 to 2 when I'll have lunch, and then eat dinner at 6. That's pretty much my routine every day now. Once a week, sometimes twice a week, I will do a 24-hour fast. Both of those they're very easy to accomplish now, especially the 24th, because I fast so much, and it's just a way of life for me now. Before, when I first started doing this, even just skipping breakfast for me was a big deal, because I've always been a really big breakfast guy. But now, like, I'm not even hungry in the morning. And so I'll have breakfast once every couple weeks just to like have that moment and eat breakfast foods. But I don't look forward to breakfast anymore at all. And actually, so this leads into the 36-hour fast. I completed my 36-hour fast this weekend. And let me tell you about it. My first 36-hour fast. I've never done a 36-hour fast. There was a big race I did this weekend called the Sniper Adventure Challenge. And it was, I did it last year and it was 48 hours. And this year, it was 36 hours. And so you go into the field, and for 36 hours, you're rucking from point to point to point and doing different challenges, doing shooting drills, doing really hard land navigation. You're up for the entire time. You have a 35-pound pack on, and you're moving the entire time. So it's really physically strenuous. I went into the race. Last year, let me back up. Last year when I did it was 48 hours. I was fasting. I wasn't fasting then as hard as I am now, but I was definitely super low carb in a place of keto while I was doing the race, and I consumed 1,800 calories on last year's race over 48 hours just eating protein and fat. I didn't have any carbs except for some of the carbs that are naturally in some of the protein or fat sources, and I was able to do it at 1,800 calories, which 1,800 calories for a 48-hour effort in the field is super non-traditional, meaning any recommendations for efforts like that where you're moving continuously with weight probably are going to recommend 2,000 to 3,000 calories a day. I did 48 hours and 1,800. This time, I went into this 36 planning to do something very similar. I had protein only and fat only in my pack. Those were going to be my snacks. Right before the race started at like 7 in the morning, we went to Jack in the Box and I bought a double bacon cheeseburger, and I had the double bacon cheeseburger. Not with the bun, of course. I just had the patties and the bacon, and so I had some really high fat protein at 6 a.m. right before the race started, and that's all I had for breakfast. We started the race. We were moving, working, and probably 10, 12 hours into it, my partner goes, "Hey dude, have you eaten anything yet?" I'm like, "Nope, I haven't had a single thing. I don't feel like it. I'm fine. I'm moving fine. I don't feel tired. I don't feel weak. My mind feels sharp." I'm like, "I'm not hungry," so I didn't have anything. 20 hours into it, still hadn't had anything. Then I'm like, well, I might as well go to 24 hours. 24 hours into it, still hadn't had a single piece of food, and we're moving hard and we're working hard. And then at that point, when we hit 24 hours, I was like, I wonder if I should just fast this entire race and go to 36. And then I decided, yeah, I'm gonna do that. 25 hours in, there was one moment of having a little feeling of, okay, I'm a little hungry, I could maybe eat. And that quickly passed, and then pushed all the way to, not even pushed, just kept moving and made it all the way to the 36-hour mark, and didn't have one thing to eat through the entire race. And felt great the entire time, was moving good, was mentally sharp, had no issues. Even once we probably covered in the 36 hours 40 plus miles with the 35-pound pack. And this was not easy physically. It was really challenging, really hard. I'm still really sore. I have blisters, but then at the very end, even when we finished and it was time to eat, I wasn't even hungry. I thought about pushing it to a 48-hour fast, sleeping that night and not eating, but I was like, I might as well eat and put something back in the system. It was so really cool to be able to experiment like that, and that's what it really is for me. It was an experiment to try to see, and I know this, so like I know it's really easy for me to get fat adapted because I put in the work a long time ago, and especially through fasting, I can turn on the whole fat adaptation principles, and my body is fueling off of fat. I knew I was fat adapted into the race, and that my body was fueling effectively off of my fat reserves, and I knew I was able to do that, and I wanted to see how long it could go without affecting my performance. It was like an experiment. I enjoy challenging myself and experimenting that way, and it worked out great. And being fat adapted, which you just can't cut carbs and try something like that. So I don't recommend this. Don't do this. You have to put in, unless you put in the work to build the foundation to be able to do that. So I don't recommend trying this unless you put in a lot of time and effort into actually reducing your carbs, lowering your insulin levels, reducing your glycogen stores, getting to a place where it's easy for you to kick into being fat adapted and fueling off of ketones. So it worked great for me. A great experiment. I probably won't ever do it again. When I do that race next year, I'll probably eat. But I just wanted to experiment and see, how it would work and if I could do it. No issue. Worked great. So super cool story. Excited to share that. Probably do another video just on that race and just on that topic. Drank a lot of water and actually not even a lot. I drank water. Drank Element. So Element's sodium replacement, has magnesium too, and also I drank 3 liters of Element over the course of the race, and probably 9 liters total of water. So didn't finish as high as we wanted to. Made some tactical errors, call it, but really happy with how that played out. Couple other points and then we'll wrap up. This was actually a long one, sorry about that. Affiliate Cup ideas. So I've heard a few places, and I've talked to Rich about this now. I talked to Craig Howard. A few people have talked to me about the Affiliate Cup and that the games doesn't feel like it's really it's not about affiliates anymore. I still think it is. When I look across the floor and everyone's there's a lot of affiliates there. There are some teams that are still affiliate teams that have, with the rules, have had people come to their gyms, but they're still working out at a gym and they're still, call it, following the rule to get to the games. It's a super team, yes, but I don't think it's just a competition full of super teams. If anyone has ideas on how to, in their mind, any affiliate owner specifically, make it more Affiliate Cup-like for them, please email me those ideas. And last thing I want to add, the guest programming we do on the main site. This week, Dale King is the guest programmer, and check it out. Dale is an affiliate owner, has a great story, has had some mainstream media attention for a documentary called Small Town Strong that he did, where he uses affiliate to help people with their addiction train at their gym and change their lives. So Dale King's doing great things in the community. He's not like a big name athlete, but he's making a profound impact on a lot of people's lives. So check out his programming, his main site programming. It's programming for the main site for the next 2 weeks, and I'm really excited to have him on board. If you hung out this long and watched us all for the entire 22 minutes, thanks for watching, and talk to you guys soon.